Hi, everybody. My name is Sharon Quinn, and I'm also known as the original runway diva, and you're watching Model Behavior. Class is officially in session. Today, my very special guests are Sandra Chuma and Kalisha Whitman. They are the executive producers of Full Figured and Fabulous, a documentary. Welcome, ladies, to Model Behavior.
Thank you for having us.
Now, tell me exactly, let's explain to everyone, what is Full Figured and Fabulous, a documentary?
Kalisha and I are at Columbia University Journalism School, the graduate school, and as part of our program, we're producing a documentary. And what we both were really interested in is the fact that 2/3 of American women, in fact, I think 2/3 of North American women are plus, size 14 or bigger, and yet we don't see them reflected in media, we don't see them in the magazines, we don't see them in fashion. And so we wanted to do a documentary exploring that to find out why is that, and speaking to some of the women who are doing something to change that perception.
Now, what made you come up with this concept? Because it is a great concept, but what is it that made you want to do this rather than anything else?
It's a subject that is very topical right now. There's lots of coverage. There are a few plus models who've made it into the mainstream, and we were intrigued by that. The fact that a plus model makes it into the mainstream is headline news, and why is that? And yet, the majority of women that we all know in our lives are plus. So we thought we'd do a documentary. There hasn't been a lot of coverage in terms of documentaries about the subject. So we thought this was a perfect opportunity, and being plus ourselves, or certainly myself, I was interested to know why and to meet some of the women behind fashion.
Okay, now you said that some plus models have gone mainstream. I think that was the term you used. What do you mean by mainstream?
So, for example,
Sports Illustrated, you can go ahead with it, but the example that we know now, Sports Illustrated has a plus-size model on its magazine, and it seems like, I guess, for people, it's news now, but it's always been news. Plus has always been in, and we wanted to go behind those scenes and showcase something for the majority in this case. A lot of times things are done for the majority, but here in the fashion industry, we see so much of the minority being represented.
Okay, that's a good point. Now, what kind of people, or not even what kind of people, who have you been covering in this documentary, aside from myself? Who else have you been covering? What sort of events and things have you guys been covering?
Well, we've been with the fabulous Gwen DeVoe.
Yes.
We're devotees now. We've been with her. She's graciously allowed us, of course, to go along on casting calls and to look at this behind-the-scene process so that we can absorb what it really goes into all of this.
Okay, what have you guys learned so far?
What we've learned is that there are a lot of beautiful women out there, a lot of beautiful women who are doing their thing. It's really been eye-opening for us just to see how proud the women are out there of being plus.
Oh, absolutely.
And I guess the one thing that I notice more and more as I go is why is there the difference? Like, why do we have the difference between the mainstream and the plus? Why isn't it just one big arena? Because there's so much talent.
Well, that subject is it's a big debate now. Why distinguish plus size models from quote unquote straight size models? I don't know how I really feel about that. I think it's necessary because one, straight size models don't want to be identified as plus. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, plus size technically on 7th Avenue begins at a size 8, which is ridiculous. So you imagine you take a girl that's an 8, a 10, a 12, even a 14, and slap them with that plus sticker, and they don't really like that. But plus sizes we have to shop in specialty stores that specialize in plus designs. I don't know that people want the stigma that is attached with that term plus or full figured or whatever you want to call it, but it is what it is. We're big girls, and but aside from those statistics in the UK, we spend a lot of money. And what boggles my mind is that the manufacturers that produce this stuff, they don't put their heart into it. Because, if we like something, we're going to buy 2, 3, 4 of those things in different colors, and because we know that stuff is hard to find. I want to know what's inside the mind of designers who have a hard time, like it's a hard thing to make clothing for plus size women. It's ridiculous that the attitudes that have been going on since as long as I can remember, and I've been doing this since the late 80s. And this mindset has always been there. It's crazy. So I'd like to see a documentary on that.
We're trying to kind of figure that out too. It's interesting that you say that. We've been talking about that.
We've been trying to reach out to designers to find out why don't they. It's amazing to us because at conservative estimates, this is an $18 billion industry.
Come on, talk about it.
And yet, no one's really going after it. I mean, yes, there's some brands that have, you know, the big brands, the Lane Bryants, the Ashley Stewarts, who are, you know, going after it, but not on a big scale when you consider 2/3 of women are plus. So that's part of what we're looking to address or investigate as part of our documentary is it because of the stigma around being plus? So if we didn't call it plus, would that change how people perceived it? So it's definitely an interesting subject for us.
And you know, I was talking about, I'm about an 8-10, it depends on the maker. So in the South, that's not plus by any standard. So we're talking about regional. When we go to the South, it's like Kalisha's a small person. When I go, if I go to LA or Miami, it's like before I get on the beach, I might need a little cover, you know, before I go outside because it's a different standard in the regions.
And it's you know, it's the stigma that they put on these women it's ridiculous. These girls are doing all sorts of crazy things to fit in that perfect mold, whatever it may be, because it changes from day to day. Okay, you lose enough weight to become a size 10, then they tell you, oh, well, you got to take a little bit more off, and they drive you to an unhealthy standard. I don't think anybody, for me, it's not worth that. I don't think anyone should live like that. Be who you are and let what is to come to you come naturally.
And it doesn't mean that you're not healthy. Sandra works out religiously. I know I've started back on my workout. It doesn't mean that you're not healthy because of your size. And I think that's another thing that we've learned too through a lot of the models. They're like, I work out every day. This is just the size that I am.
I don't think that the creator made us all to look the same. What a boring world this would be if everybody looked the same and we were all size 6s. There's no variety, no flavor. I think that everything is the way it's supposed to be. Do some people need some help? Yes, they do. But I think this world, we were meant to be different. It's how it's supposed to be. And for that small percentage of the population that is running 7th Avenue to try to shame you and beat you over the head for being the God-given size that you're supposed to be is absolutely ridiculous to me.
So why is it important for you to showcase being different and to keep this going after all these years?
Are you trying to interview me now? Okay, Alabama. All right, I got you. It's important to me to teach because they don't know. I mean, I've done television, I've done reality television, I've done commercials, I've done just about everything that I've dreamed about in this industry. I'm trying to shop my little talk show. I've been trying to shop that. It's not even a talk show. It's a television show about plus fashion. Mm-hmm. Nobody's biting. Maybe things will change now that there seems to be some momentum gathering. But I teach because as I do these castings, and I go to fashion shows, and I just see people getting it wrong all the time. And I see people laughing, because, you know, that's what we do. We're going to laugh at you, but we're not going to tell you how to fix it, because we don't want we don't want for you to do better than we are. I'm not of that mindset. So if I see that you're doing something wrong, I'm going to pull you to the side and hope that you'll be open to the gift that I'm trying to give you and you know, step your game up. It doesn't always work. I've had it blown up in my face. I've had my words misconstrued and, you know, I've been misquoted a lot of times. But when I see somebody getting it right and they come back to me and they say thank you, they don't really say thank you publicly, but they say, you know, they write me letters and they say thank you and how I changed their life and how, you know, good things are happening. That makes me feel good. That makes me feel like I did what I was supposed to do. I guess I would consider myself a fashion guardian angel of sorts. But
like
yeah, I don't want to see people fail.
Well, we'll thank you publicly because you are certainly one of the people, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to include you in our documentary, is you're one of the pioneers, you're one of the people who are trying to make change in this industry. And you're right that it is about us finding a platform that will hear the message and spread the message. And it's not just for us and this generation, it's also for those young girls growing up who are ashamed, you know, when they're 5, 6, 7 years old and who feel like they're not pretty because they're plus. So I think for us, that's one of the things that we're looking to do and hoping that our documentary gets legs and gets momentum is to help kind of spread that message that it's okay to be plus. It's not okay to be unhealthy.
Right.
And that's one of the things that we've certainly heard as we've been traveling and been out there is people say, well, are you promoting plus and obesity? No, that's not at all what we're saying.
There's a difference between you don't necessarily plus and unhealthy don't go hand in hand. There's a difference to be plus size and another to be morbidly obese. There's a big difference. And people are really obtuse when it comes to stuff like that. I have a niece, stunning, chocolate diva. She's so beautiful, but she doesn't know that. And I try to drill that into her head every time I see her. So once you own and know how beautiful you are, the world will be your oyster.
But Ms. Sharon, how would she know that? When you look at the magazines, like you said, like 8 is plus. And in the magazines, we're seeing these girls who are size 0 and size 2, and we're being told that's what beauty is, that's what beautiful is.
Do you listen to everything that's told to you? Because I know I don't.
You don't.
No, I mean, I don't. I had a mother, sorry, Ma. I have a mother who every day told me I was beautiful because I was different coming in this world with these big old feet and these long legs. I mean, I was a big kid in a community of small people. So I got it both ways. I got it for being chunky and for being tall. But my mother never told me I was anything less than beautiful. When I couldn't find clothes to wear back then, my mother pulled out a sewing machine and made clothes for me. And, it's all up what you believe. People can tell you anything, but you don't have to believe everything that you're told.
Right. I think that's the difference, though. Some people don't have that nurturing background. So it's one thing when you're bullied in the community, but when you're also bullied at home. And I think that some of the women, when they see the young ladies, see those images, and then maybe their mom wants them to be this way. I remember growing up, there was a child in my school, her mother had her own Weight Watchers, in the 5th, 6th grade, or when she got into high school, because she was a Caucasian lady, but she had hips. She was built like a black woman.
She must have had it
She had some hips, so she didn't have, like at school, we loved her, but her mom was always trying to make her go on a diet, and her mom was a small woman. And I know this lady that I'm in college with now says that when she was in elementary school, her mother would put her on a waist trainer when she was that young, trying to make her fit an image. So I think for some people, I know everybody's not that case, but for some people, when you see all of the small people, and then you really want to mirror that because that's all that you know.
Well, I know it's definitely different in the black community versus the Caucasian community because we, this is who we are. You want this plate of ribs and potato salad? We embrace our culture, and this is, we are curvaceous naturally. White people, they got that's a whole set of problems. They can't even be slightly off in weight, and they go into fat camps. First of all, we don't have enough money to send our kids to fat camps. But, they do all sorts of crazy stuff so that their kids can fit into this crazy image that they see in the magazines. I am blessed that I didn't feed into all of that nonsense.
It's also a cultural thing. Certainly, I'm from Zimbabwe. I'm from, where the bigger the better.
Yes, absolutely. That's how you get a husband.
That's exactly how you get a husband. And it's a measure, where I'm from, it's a measure of wealth. Like, the bigger you are, that means you can afford to sit around, you can afford to eat good.
And it started out that way in America, too. Like, that's one of the things that was a sign of wealth. But then when people started getting smaller, then it flipped. I mean, that's historically.
And I'd like to know what that trigger was, actually, because back in, I forget what age it is, but the Rubenesque era where that we were celebrated. You weren't celebrated if you were skinny. I'd like to know at what point this actually changed. Maybe it was in the 60s with Twiggy when all of that stuff, I was, I wanted to be Twiggy, but I just wanted to be her in my own body.
In the Marilyn Monroe era and stuff, we see women were of more of a full-figured size in that time, too. So it did flip at some point. But I just think that it's important, like you said, to remember that no matter what, you have to embrace it. So that was our driving force behind this documentary.
The goal, and you asked me how my niece, how was she supposed to know this? Because it's drummed into her head. She has that nurturing. We all love her. Good. She has brothers who tell her every day that she's beautiful. But until she believes that, it's always going to be a problem. You got to, and this is what I say with models who want to get in this business. You have to look in the mirror and love what you see. Doesn't matter if you don't like it right now. You might want to change it, but you gotta love it any old way. And you don't come into this business unless you are secure in who you are. Because if you are insecure in the least and you are doubting yourself, they're gonna go in on you, and you're gonna have a lot of issues.
That's certainly something we've seen as we've attended casting calls and go-sees, is the fact that this is a very cruel business. You're judged. No one cares what you've got to say. No one cares what's in your brain. You walk in and you're judged by how you look. So it definitely is. As you say, you've got to be very comfortable with yourself if you're coming into this industry. And one of the other things which, certainly we'd love to discuss with you, Ms. Sharon, is what we hear when we're out there is that this industry, the plus industry, isn't taken seriously because the women in the plus industry don't take it seriously themselves. So one of the things that we've heard is, well, in the plus industry, everybody's a model, everybody's a runway coach, everybody's this and that in the industry. So what do you think about that?
I think that social media, Facebook and Instagram, is causing a lot of damage, a lot. Because on Instagram and Facebook, yes, they're all models, they're all runway. How you gonna coach somebody if you don't have a career yourself? And people, because social media is so readily available and you can dupe people, you can lie on social media and on Instagram. All it takes is one person, and one person has done this already, gotten signed with an agency through her Instagram page. There are exceptions to every rule. Everybody is not the exception, and this is what you need to know. Everybody is not going to be able to pull that off. Like I told you earlier, when it's for you, all of the doors will be open to you and things will happen. But because it's for you doesn't mean it's for you. And, I disagree with that. Plus, the plus industry doesn't care. There are tons of people who care. There are lots of legitimate models who are making big money. They're going overseas. They're making big money here. It's, I would say, it's a group of. How do I want to put this?
Don't filter. Don't censor.
I never do. No, I don't censor. But I don't know what to call them. There are a lot of people who they want to break the standards and change the game. Can't change the game until you learn the rules of the game. And those rules are in place for a reason. You have to be 5'8", between 5'8" and maybe 6 feet, because that's what the manufacturers and the designers, and this is what they use. So you can try and change it, and you can do local shows for the rest of your life, but you're not going to break any barriers if you don't know what the hell you're doing in the first place. So I disagree with that statement.
Okay.
And I know tons of people who will back me up. And I mean, look at the Gwen DeVos. Look at the Ashley Grahams, the Lyris Crosses, all these people who are out there doing it every single day. So yeah, there's a lot of us that care. And we're out there teaching and giving back because we want the ones that's coming up behind us to know this is how you do it. These are the steps to being successful. You do it another way, you might get lucky, but chances are you won't. So I want you all to tell us about this. Tell me about the school, because I know y'all got to get that in there. We talked about that earlier.
I mean, it's a nice school. Sandra and I both. I come from the media background. I was an anchor and reporter before this. Sandra is an IT extraordinary professional in that field.
She's my publicist.
So I mean, it's different coming out of the professional world, I think, in both rights, and getting back into the realm of academia. But it also has given us a time to cultivate and think and create and get together. And we're much better as a group than we are as a single person, especially with this project. So I think it's been a good move for me and for Sandra.
So what school are you guys attending?
We're at Columbia University's Graduate School of Journalism, and one of the things that we're exceptionally proud about, both about the school and particularly about the program that we're in the documentary program, is it's not often that you get a room full of Black women in an Ivy League program, and we've been fortunate that in our class
15.
of 15,
Black
that
women?
there are
Five
five
of
out of the
us.
15, there are 5 black women, but
and
not
two
just
guys
that.
out of the whole crew.
Yeah, and there are 13 women, which is just phenomenal in and of
Wow.
itself. And we love the guys. We have 2 guys in the class, and we love them. But it's been a really amazing experience for us because generally, you know, when you have a room full of women, there's a lot of cattiness, a lot of backstabbing, and things like that. We've certainly not experienced any of that. There are 13 of us in this program, nothing but supportive. And one of the things that Kalisha and I are most proud about is that there are not many women filmmakers in the industry, and so we're proud that, you know, the 2 of us are going out there and making a film.
Why do you think there aren't many women filmmakers out there? What's the deal with that?
I mean, I think it's just pretty much with everything that's been in life almost historically, this has been pretty much a male-dominated world. I mean, in all the industries. I mean, if not, we wouldn't still have to have these lawsuits about discrimination and fighting for rights. And then I think sometimes as women, when we see that, sometimes maybe we want to hold it back, but there's no reason, just like in plus-size modeling, that you should hold back who you are for what you want to do. I think that Sandra and I, our documentary could do better than any male trying to do this subject. And we also may bring a different perspective as well because of our backgrounds and because we are women. You know, not only are we women, but this is a woman from Zimbabwe, I'm a little southern girl from Alabama, so bringing that to the table, and when you marry all that, I think it makes us even more powerful, especially 2 women. This is a man's world, but it ain't nothing without a woman or a
You better
girl,
preach
honey.
that. Hallelujah, hallelujah. So let's go over the steps, like, because I would like to actually, that is a goal of mine, to do a documentary. I'm not gonna say what it is because people steal your ideas out here, so I'm just keep that to myself.
You can tell us.
No, I ain't talking about y'all. Other folks steal your stuff.
No, we can tell us.
But what are the steps you have to take to become a documentary filmmaker? Do you have to go back to school, or is there some free classes you could take?
I don't think that you have to go back to school. For me personally, that's what I wanted to do to get into, like I said, get into another mindset in the world of academia. But I think most of it is about learning your skill, taking time with the camera. You could teach yourself. You could probably learn nowadays. You get on the internet and learn so many things. But I think the biggest thing when it comes to being a filmmaker or a journalist is that you have your morals and your ethics and your standards. I mean, journalism is a trade. Let's be honest with it. You can do this without a degree. Doctor, maybe you need a degree, but you have to be able to make sure that you tell people in the way that they're supposed to be represented. I think that's the biggest thing.
Can you expound on that? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, if you tell me something and you mean it one way, I shouldn't chop up your sound bites to make it sound like you mean something totally different, or I shouldn't take you out of context. And I think so many people don't want to trust journalists sometimes and filmmakers because they're afraid what's the context going to be, because it's a big trust factor.
So
I'm filming
like
you.
Reality television.
Right.
What they do,
And
they
even
edit
with
it to get the story they want.
Right. So even with reality, it's not even sometimes the realest reality television that we
know.
see. But it's a big trust factor. I'm filming you, I'm going away with your footage, and you're trusting that I will come back with something that's pleasing and the true story. And some people go out to tell the truth, and the truth may be a little ugly. And so that's also a fine line too when you're trying to make sure that you tell the truth.
But do you tell the ugly part?
Well, I think as a journalist, you should tell what the truth is.
Okay.
Now, if you're talking about a motion movie filmmaker, that's a whole different.
No, I'm talking
subject.
documentary.
Documentary filmmaking, yes.
You have to tell the truth.
We're telling the truth. We're telling the story. Now, we are directors and writes as well, but it's not like the motion picture side of things. Not like that. Like I may put the camera on your heels to get a higher sound of the clicks or something that may not be like what I shot off my camera, but it's not me turning a whole story into something totally different.
Okay, so you have to have integrity. Tell the truth. Do you need to write out stuff beforehand? Is that a good idea to do that?
It's a great idea to know going in what's the story you want to tell, because then you know what's the footage that you need to collect or who are the people that you need to interview. So certainly for us, when we started down this journey, we had an idea about what it was we wanted to do. Then we had to sit down and really think, okay, there were so many different avenues, so many different ways we could have told the story, and we had to sit down and decide what was the story we wanted to tell, and then based on that story, who were the people we needed to go out and follow or interview, spend time with to be able to tell that story. So yeah, having a good idea of what you want to say is where you need to start.
Okay, so go ahead.
And with documentarians, you do get to take a point of view. You're still telling facts and telling actual stories, but as opposed to maybe a news reporter where you may not be able to show a little bit of bias, you can do that a little bit as a documentarian. There's more wiggle room right there.
Okay, so I just lost my,
I'm
these damn
sorry.
senior moments are killing me. I lost my train of thought. So you said that you have to write everything out.
So we don't write everything out. So what we do is we start out with the framework. Okay, so in our case, we knew we wanted to tell the story of plus. We wanted to tell the story of why is it that even though 2/3 of women are plus, we don't see them reflected in the media. So that was our going in position. But one of the things that we've learned is that you may come in with an idea about what it is you want to say, but the story leads you somewhere else. So it's having that flexibility to know, you know, we thought we wanted to tell this story, but everything everyone is telling us is leading us a different way, and having that flexibility to change direction.
Got my question back. Okay. Now you guys have been following us on the road, and you guys have been shooting a lot of footage. How long is your documentary? How long do you want it to be? And what is how much do you just shoot until you can't shoot anymore? What's the process that goes into deciding what's going to be used?
For Columbia, the documentary is 30 minutes to complete our thesis.
Okay.
But we could make it longer if we'd like to after the fact. And the second part of that question, what was the second part?
How much do you just shoot until you? How do you know you've had enough footage?
I always like to overshoot. I'm an overshooter, especially in the digital age, because it's not like going through videotape. But you overshoot because, like, we were in Toronto a few weeks ago. Out of that whole 3 or 4 hours that we were there, we may end up using about 40 seconds, 50 seconds.
Okay. All right. Well, I hear my music cue, so we're just about out of time. So I want to thank my guest lecturers today, Sandra Chuma and Kalisha Whitman, a.k.a. Alabama, for joining us today. Before I go, I'll leave you with a few thoughts. Always remember to surround yourself with positive people and positive things. Remember that you can't change the game without first learning the game. And always try to be a sponge. My name is Sharon Quinn. Thanks for watching Model Behavior. And class is officially dismissed. Bye, everybody.